the last 20 years. So, yeah, it's a big opportunity on Saturday. There's only 3 unbeaten teams left in the Big 12, and 2 of them are playing. The other one's Oklahoma, and they have to play the bugaboo that has been Kansas State for them, although I think Oklahoma wins this game on Saturday. But, shoot, man, I mean, K-State, like I said, they've been their Wolfsbane, and that's going to be tough for OU to win, especially if they can't run the football, and K-State's pretty good about stopping the run. So that's going to be tough. But, yeah, Oklahoma State and Baylor, it's a very interesting game. A lot to like about what's starting to happen for Oklahoma State with some receivers like Tay Martin coming back. Obviously got a really good running back. Spencer Sanders just had his best game. There's still some consistency issues, kind of like with the Baylor offense. Both of them were just not really alive in the second half of their games last week. They basically relied on defense and special teams to win games for them. And defense has been Oklahoma State's calling card. You can argue that Baylor's been a bit of a mixture. They've won by special teams. They've won with offense. They've won with defense. But Oklahoma State's offense is starting to get back together, so should be interesting this weekend.
By the way, when we were in the first half last week watching Baylor and Iowa State, and Baylor's first 2 or 3 or 4 possessions, they weren't all flawless, but they were pretty good. You could see a rhyme and a reason. You could see that it was if Jeff Grimes and his offensive staff were like, they weren't throwing a perfect game, but they were having a no-hitter into the 5th and 6th inning. We didn't see any of that ever basically at any time last year. That doesn't mean against K-State at the end they didn't rally behind Charlie and he kind of, when he does his impromptu draw it in the sand, or what they did against Kansas. We all looked at each other, did we not? And went, Craig, you leaned over to me. Did we see this ever?
No, we didn't.
Last year, and we saw it like back-to-back-to-back type series or close to that.
Yeah.
And so that's something that they've been able to do, piece together that, which who knows if they continue to, but that sure does bring something else to the table.
Yeah, I think it was after like the second quick touchdown or whatever, I did lean over and I said, do we see this at any point last year? And the answer is no, we didn't. I mean, we've seen more from this offense through 5 games, or was it 4 games? 4 games than we saw. I mean, you could just take the first half and go, this is better than the entire year last year.
Yep.
And you could do that for a couple of different halves. I mean, that's how night and day that it is. You got to give a lot of credit to Jeff Grimes. You have to give a lot of credit to Eric Mateos. But I tell you what, though, they did get shut out in the second half for the most part. I mean, they had to, thrive on special teams more so than actually being able to finish drives. And that's not something that they can do this weekend. That defense that they're playing from Oklahoma State, man, they do not let you run the football. And they are very good, and they are very active, and they're very much in your face. And so it's going to be a huge test for this Baylor offense. Coming off a half like they had to close out the game, I imagine they're rip-roaring and ready to go, and they're going to need to be because the Cowboys have a legitimate defense.
Yeah, their run defense is solid. There's no question. And they have the ability to explosive play and then throw up on themselves sometimes on offense. We'll see. They turned the corner a little bit last week.
Go watch Gary Bohannon's touchdown on the touchdown run, the 11-yard touchdown run he had, and watch the players get to the second level blocking.
Oh, no.
I mean, and it's they're not at the second level.
They used to not get past the first level. With all due respect.
They got sent back into the negative space.
Negative one level.
Yeah, they were down in the basement.
Eric Mateos and oh my God, it's unbelievable. And having both Mateos and Grimes, and of course there's others, but to have them with their offensive line mentality, now they get tested yet again, and we'll see what happens.
Well, now, whoever wins this game this weekend, they're going to be one of, and depending on what Oklahoma does, they might be the only unbeaten, but they'll be one of, maybe 2 unbeatens, whoever wins this game. I mean, I think it does favor Oklahoma State because it is in Stillwater. I do think that matters to an extent, but I think these teams are pretty even. Like when you match them up, Baylor has some strengths that are better. Oklahoma State has some strengths that are slightly better. Both have warts, but I think it's going to be a knockdown, drag-out type of a physical football game, and whoever wins is going to be, especially Baylor, right in the drive. You have Iowa State out of the way and a win in Stillwater potentially.
No. 2 teams at the top. If you looked at the Big 12 before the season and it had 3 sections, would have like Oklahoma, Iowa State probably in section 1A, and then there's a handful with Oklahoma State. You could have put probably TCU in there, and then the possibility of UT in that next one, and then and that would give you 2. Remember they used to do this. You kind of had. They do this in basketball. You have these certain wins in quadrants or whatever, and that would give them a couple of high quadrants in the Big 12. Now, you want me guys to get into Chapter 2 now with the Big 12 and what is some of what's smoking, or do you want me to do it in the next segment?
Let's do it. Let's take these 3 calls and do it in the next segment.
We'll take 3 calls and then just kind of an update. It's been quiet for about a week in the Big 12 when it comes to the future and how things could get to certain levels of either 12, 14, 16. That's going to be in the next segment. We'll have that for you, Paul.
Okay, let's go to Jeff in Mexico.